with the official previews of the Modern Horizons 3 Commander decks, the Eldrazi deck has got me the most excited. As you can see here, it's called Eldrazi Incursion, and it is 5-color Eldrazi, technically 6-color with colorless in there. And this is going to be another one of those decks where you can just kind of jam anything you want into it. People on Twitter are excited about it, not excited, crapping their pants, complaining about Ulalek, etc., etc. And so, as you can see here, Angelo, Lord of Innistrad, on Twitter says, giving her all of your shitters Annihilator is such a miserable design. And this is for the non-face commander, which is Azlask, the Swelling Scourge. And this is in essence, this is actually just an experience counter commander. You can do 5-color experience counters with it. As you can see here, there are a number of experience counter commanders, 9 in total. Azuri, Claw of Progress. Kelsey and the Plague was like the old one that people would use. So you have Azuri, you have Marin, and Minthara. Those ones would be kind of like the big ones. Othari could also be used in this, where you would you'd get your experience counters, build up a big board with Ozlask, and then just jam them in, annihilate, get plus 15, what have you. And so this is an Eldrazi commander, but it's not the Eldrazi commander to me. And the reason I'm making this video is that the precon spikes has spiked 90% in price after the set has leaked, and it went from $70 to $133 at the time of recording. Actually, this is even before the recording, so the price is a little bit different now. But as you can see, people are excited for Eldrazi. The other decks, as we saw here and here, are the Tricky Terrain, which is Lands Matters, Creative Energy, which is Jeskai Energy, and then finally is the Graveyard Overdrive, which is kind of a Jund Lurgoyf style deck, where you make Lurgoyf permanents and Tarmogoyf tokens and whatnot. It's funny because I think these are organized in terms of like how popular they're going to be. I think Lurgoyfs will probably be the least, followed by Energy. Second most will be Lands, and the most will be Eldrazi. And I think Ulalek here, as you can see, will be the number 1 Eldrazi commander. And going to EDH Rec, as you can see, we scroll down, we get to Zuladak, the Void Gorger. And this was the previous number one Eldrazi commander. This is kind of a true Eldrazi. It's ranked number 49. It's pure colorless. You don't have 5-color, you don't have Devoid, you don't have any of those shenanigans. So this one's a little bit more of a challenge to build. But and yet it was number 49. I think if you scroll further, you might find more fun. People have built more fun Eldrazi, but that's a little bit of a cop out to me. It doesn't really help with it. But as you can see, Ulalek here is going to be, I think, the number 1 Eldrazi commander. And I think this will eclipse Zuladak because Ulalek lets you kind of cheat. It lets you do the Princess Bride, the unsportsmanlike, not very sportsmanlike thing of playing all 5 colors and just casting whatever you want. In the new set, there are a number of new Eldrazi here, as well as extremely powerful cards like Kozilek's Unsealing. And I accidentally zoomed out. There we go. Kozilek's Unsealing. This card is extremely powerful, as well as Echoes of Eternity. So these 2 cards here make Eldrazi even more terrifying than it was. And as you can see with Echoes of Eternity, this is like Panharmonicon on crack. You know, it triggers colorless spells and permanents, and then it also copies your colorless spells. Now, luckily, they gave it a restrictive mana cost, so you can't just jam it in any deck. But it's extremely powerful with Eldrazi and with artifact decks too. I think it'd be quite strong there. And so Kozilek's Unsealing, on the other hand, this is like Sarkhan's Unsealing a little bit, but I think this is even better because it's a 3-mana blue enchantment. If you make a 4, 5, or 6 drop, you get 2 Scion tokens, and when you cast a 7 drop or greater, you draw 3 cards. And people talk about this with Modern, with like Affinity, with Mirrored Forcer, Frogmite types, not Frogmite, but Mirror Enforcer type stuff, where you play a 0 drop and draw 3 cards. This is really strong in the new Eldrazi archetype. Going back to Twitter here, there's some pretty funny comments. You got to wade through a few Elon quips to get to the good stuff in Magic Twitter these days. But people comment here that 5-color Eldrazi kind of sucks the fun out of building them, and like I was saying, it's a little bit unsportsmanlike in a way. Not really. It's not bad manners, but it's just it's funny that like you're taking a risk building 5 colors, but you're not really risking anything, because with all the mana fixing these days, it's so strong, and it feels like you don't have much of a color identity. And Mark Rosewater has commented in the past, that's part of why they don't make as many sets, like draftable sets with like 3-color draft archetypes, because it's just tricky to have the identities of those shards and wedges, especially, and then the more colors you get, there's not as much of identity. And then this is a funny take here. Custom MTG ass 5-color card, do nothing, hybrid nightmare, boomer ass Waka Waka deck, Jeskai Energy 2, Beanie Edition. That's the kind of thing I go to Twitter for. 10 likes, who cares? That's funny. And so, people are making fun of Kozilek and Ulamog. I think Rachel Weeks made a comment on it, that they're just like combined together. Ulalek is a 2/5. It's tiny, but like this is the kind of card here. Looking at it, this is going to be pretty high up on EDH Rec. This is going to be higher up than Zuladak. I think this is going to be. It'll crack the top 50 for sure. It might crack the top 40 or top 30. I think that it will be relatively popular. Now, on the other hand, you have, as I mentioned earlier, Azlask, and this is it's ostensibly an Eldrazi commander, but it's more of a experience counter or changeling commander. And so this one's a little bit less intuitive, but probably stronger than Ulalek. And so I'm saying that Eldrazi are back because you get extremely powerful prints of new Eldrazi, like Breaker of Creation, Devourer of Destiny. The strongest Eldrazi card is Echoes of Eternity, with the exception of All is Dust. All is Dust might actually be still the best Eldrazi card, because it's a one-sided board wipe. And then you get a bunch of other, like the new Titans here are actually very strong. So you have Emrakul, you have Kozilek, and then you have Ulamog here. These 3 all are playable in especially the colorless Eldrazi decks. If you're not going the 5-color, if you go in Zuladak, or maybe you play Kozilek, these 3 cards are going to boost the power of the deck. And then as well as Null, Elemental Blast, as well as scrolling through these here, there are a bunch of lands that they've added. So Planar Nexus, Ugin's Labyrinth, and Urza's Cave are all playable cards in the Eldrazi deck, because Planar Nexus, what it does is you can count it as a Lotus, like a Cloud Post. You can count it as an Urza's Tower type of land. And so this is going to be kind of the linchpin of those lands if you decide to play those in your EDH deck. These are this is the type of card that can really enable your mana to work well. And so the Eldrazi, I think, have gotten a huge boost from this set. And the funny thing is, like, Zuladak came out just last year? Yeah, last year. And people were kind of disappointed in that set, in that release. And with Modern Horizons 3 being a Modern Horizons set, which, in my opinion, these are the best sets in Magic that are printed, like the most bang for your buck, the most fun, the most powerful, maybe a little bit too powerful with like the Evoke Elementals, but nevertheless, Modern Horizons 3 sets are where it's at. And so there's just going through a couple of more tweets here. The funny thing here is Delny works with the new Ulalek because it's a 2-power, and so is Azlask. So you can copy their triggers with Delny. So, you do this, you do Roaming Throne, you do a number of other things. And these cards just are just crazy. So people are complaining about the new Ulamog the Defiler. Not a fan of the Annihilator Infinity on this card. But I think it's super cool. And I love that they use the concept art here too. I think just the idea of Eldrazi, the Timmy nature of them, it almost feels like Attack on Titan or Evangelion, just like huge eldritch monstrosities taking over the battlefield. It really brings out the imagination. It really is fun for the builder to look at and play. Now, the question is for the rest of the table, is Ulalek going to be acceptable for the rest of the table? And is the Azlask going to be acceptable as well? Because these cards have the potential to be a little bit too powerful, a little bit unfun. So that's the kind of the question here. Where do we think these Eldrazi are going to land in current Commander format? And let me know what you think in the comments. And remember to subscribe. So once I get to 1,000, I can start making some money on YouTube. So just if you haven't subscribed yet, just hit subscribe. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments.